Okay, let's talk about finding the rational zero theorem. Okay, first we're gonna watch a little clip to gain your attention. Okay, now that we have your attention, let's look at the following. So let's first look at this 2x squared plus x plus 3. Okay, so to do these type of calculations, we first have to be familiar with what everything means. Okay, so 2 would be considered my leading coefficient. Okay, how do I find the leading coefficient? I look at my exponent with the highest number. Okay, so let's say for instance it's 10, my leading coefficient would be 10. My leading coefficient would be the number in front of x10, or x raised to the 10th power. Now, here we have our leading coefficient, right? So if I simply look at 2x, 2 is my coefficient of x. X is my variable. And then the number with no x is known as a constant. Okay? It's very important to know these things, what a constant is and what a leading coefficient is. So in order to do this, we first have to find the values that's possibly 0. Now, I've done this example in class, but I'm going to redo it. But now you can watch it at your own time. Okay, now I know you might be frightened, but it's okay. Let's chat about it. So let's find the possible zeros. To do that, we're going to use P over Q. Remember that P is my factors of my constant over the factors of my leading coefficient. So what does factor mean? Let's say for instance I have 6. These are simply numbers that can divide into 6. So what can divide into 6? 1, 2, 3, and 6. That gives me 4 factors. 6 has 4 factors. Now, I'm going to have to put all of these, the plus minus value of each of these numbers. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and of course 6. Now, Q is the factors of this value. Now, when there's nothing in front of x, it simply just means 1 multiply x. Okay? So I'm going to put that over 1, over 1, over 1, over 1, over 1. Let's say this value was 2. Let's just say for argument's sake it was 2, right? What I'm going to have to do then is I'm going to have to put it over 1, 1, 1, 1, and then over, I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 6, and put that over 2, 2, 2, 2. Now we're going to simplify. Okay, we're going to simplify these fractions. 1 over 1 is 1, so plus minus 1. 2 over 1 is simply just 2. Then we have 3, and we have 6. So that's going to give me plus minus 6. Now, one of the x values here will be equal to 0. But we don't know which one. We don't know if it's plus minus 1, plus minus 2, plus minus 3, or plus minus 6. So we're going to have to guess which one of these is equal to 0. So now I'm going to test them. I'm going to test them one by one. So first I'll test 1, positive 1. Okay, it's going to give me 1 to the power of 3 plus 2, 1 to the power of 2 minus 5 to the power of 1 minus 6. This is going to give me 1 plus 1 to the power of 2 is 1, multiply 2 is 2, minus 5, because negative 5 multiply 1 is negative 5, and then minus 6. Now we have 1 plus 2 is 3, and negative 5 minus 6 is negative 11. So now I have a value of 8. As we can see, 8 is not equal to 0. So I don't want to use this one. So now I'm going to try with 2. Let's try with 2. 2 to the power of 3 plus 2 multiply 2 to the power of 2, or 2 square, multiply 1, multiply 6. Subtract 1, subtract 5, subtract 6. This 2 to the power of 3 simply means 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So I have 8. Here we have 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is also 8. We have negative, excuse me, this is supposed to be a 2. Negative 5 multiplied 2 is negative 10 minus 6. This then gives me 16 minus 16. So now we found 0. So that means that one of my x values will be equal to 2. After I've done this, I'm going to go back to my equation. Okay, I'm going to look at now not only my leading coefficient and my constant, but I'm going to look at each of my coefficients. So I'm going to use 1, 2, -5, and -6. Now we get to a topic called synthetic division. Okay, how that works is we're gonna draw this box. Over here we're gonna put in our leading coefficients, or our coefficients. So it's 2, or 1, 2, -5, -6. Now to find my other possible x values, I'm going to use the 2 I just calculated to find my x value. I'm going to use this to find my other 2 x values. Because when we look at a cubic function, we know cubic x has 3 possible values. Okay? We already found the first one. The first one is 2. So how do we find the next 2 ones? Or how do we find the remaining 2 ones? We can do that by using the x we just calculated. Since we know that this function is equal to 0. Okay? When x is 2, of course. So firstly, I'm going to bring down the 1. Now, how we're going to do this is we're going to say 2 multiply 1 gives me 2. Then we're going to add these 2 together. We're going to add these 2, we're going to add these 2. So you multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. So here we have 4. So 4 multiplied 2 is 8. -5 plus 8 gives me 3. And then I have 2 multiply 3, which is 6, which gives me 0. Now, if we find a 0 here, we can create a quadratic function with these 3 values. This being my x squared, this being my x, and this being my constant. Okay? Because we have 0 there, there's no remainder in this function. So we know then that 2 is a factor of this polynomial function or cubic function. So now I said that x squared, because remember there's a 1, plus 4x plus 3. And we're going to set this equal to 0. Now we need to find the remaining 2 x values. And we can factor this quadratic equation by using the BC. Okay? My B, excuse me, CB. CB. My C is 3. My B is 4. I need to create 4 by using addition or subtraction here. So now we need positive 4. We also need positive 3. So what multiply what gives me 3? 3 only has 2 factors. We can have 1 multiply 3. So we know these are going to be my 2 values. Can I possibly find 4? Well, I can by saying 3 plus 1 that equals 4. So now we know that both symbols will be positive. Now I can say that x plus 3 multiply x plus 1 is equal to 0. Now, in order to solve x, we have to set one of these equal to 0. So we're going to say x plus 3 is equal to 0. We're going to take this to the other side, flip it, or subtract 3 on both sides. Doesn't matter. We get x is equal to -3. For the second one, we do the exact same thing. We're going to say that x plus 1 is equal to 0. So when I take it to the other side, it becomes x is equal to -1. Now we have 3 x values. We have x is equal to 2. We have x is equal to -3. And we have x is equal to -1. So what does this mean? This means that this is my 3 possible answers, or this is my 3 answers if I factor this entire cubic polynomial function. So how can I rewrite this? How can I write this in factored form? Well, if I take these things back to the original side by setting them equal to 0, I will have that x minus 2 multiply x plus 3 and multiply x plus 1. If I do this by using the FOIL method, so first I'm going to use the firsts, outers, inners, lasts. First I'm going to use this, and then I'll go back to my original equation that I found over here. So it's going to then be x squared plus 4x plus 3. If I multiply this with x minus 2, I should find my original function. So now we've factored a cubic function and we found the values of x. Okay? So again, if we find this type of equation, we will simply have a quadratic equation. We can then set this equal to my coefficients of x squared and then plus 4x plus 3. I factor these one, I find the remaining 3 answers. So if there is a remainder, however, let's say for instance this remainder was 7, we will have this equation. So I'm going to remember 1, 4, 3, so I'm going to rewrite this 1, 4, and 3. So if we do have a factor, our remainder now is 7. So how can I rewrite that? I can then rewrite that as plus 7 over what I try to divide it with. I try to divide it when x is equal to 2, meaning x minus 2 is a factor of this equation. So this will be my final answer. So depending on what the question is, if the question is find the 3 values of x, this will be my final answer. If the question is factor the polynomial in its simplest form, this will be my answer. And so forth. I know it's a little bit tricky, but once you understand synthetic division and you know what P over Q is, this should be easy. The testing might be a little bit annoying and a little bit long, but very easy once you find the first zero. Let's just chat about this one before I bounce. What about x3 plus x plus 4? If we find the possible zeros, we have to do synthetic division. But now, I can rewrite this as x plus, as we see that there's a x squared missing. If the x squared is missing, I'm going to simply rewrite my equation like this. 0 multiply x squared plus x plus 4. Because remember, anything multiplies 0 is 0. So now when I do my synthetic division, I'm going to still use my coefficients. So now it's going to be 1, 0, 1, 4. And then I'm going to use the possible zeros. Okay?